The 2026 Big East basketball schedule is officially out. Plus, the UConn basketball programs make history in the pros. And we'll talk some 2026 recruiting updates. All that coming up next on How About Them Huskies? Welcome to episode 136 of How About the Huskies. As always, I'm your host, Connor. Joe, my bad, and Andrew. You may have noticed a bit of a different intro, trying something new, see if it works. But as I said in that intro, we'll be talking about the Big East schedule that was released earlier this week. Might have even been last week at this point. We also will talk about the history that UConn made. We'll talk about that first, actually, 'cause it's really quick. And then we'll talk about some 2026 recruiting updates. A very important visit over the weekend occurred, but we'll just knock the easy one out. UConn, the men and women, had both rookies of the years in the NBA and WNBA, respectively. Stephon Castle, of course, we knew won NBA Rookie of the Year, but Paige Beckers took it home in the WNBA with the Dallas Wings. The first time that's ever happened for any college program to have rookies of the year in both leagues. How cool is that to see, and how special is that for the program, in your guys' opinion?
I think it's fantastic. It's definitely going to get more eyes on this program than there already are. And I would like to say it is a little bit of a tough look for the UConn doesn't, what's it called, make good pros crowd because first time ever that the same university has had the same rookies of the year in the same year. So I think it's fantastic for the university, big publicity, but also just like massive congratulations to Paige because she obviously, as everybody knows, went through injuries. Obviously, came here to be a national champion. Did not declare last year, decided to use her fifth year and won the national championship and then won the rookie of the year after. So, congratulations to her, but obviously to both of them.
UConn is all over the history books with the men and the women's programs. Back in 2013-14, obviously becoming the first program to have the men and women win in the same year, now over a decade.
And 04, come on
And
now.
04, my bad, I'll own that. But yeah, now back in the history books with the first WNBA and NBA Rookie of the Year. Shout out to the men for, meeting up their end of the bargain nowadays. The amount of talent that have come in and out of this program in the past 5 or 6 years alone has just been incredible. Steph Castle, truly a one-of-a-kind player. Only a one and done, but he'll be a Husky forever. And shout out to Paige. That was a pretty cool way that they showed her that she won the award on the Jennifer Hudson show. They like did the whole clap down the hallway thing, and then the commissioner was standing right there ready to hand her the trophy. It was a pretty cool thing to see.
Yeah, I saw that as well. Definitely a really cool way to receive the award. Even if you know or expect you're probably going to get it, you don't know when. It's a special moment that finally happens. I don't have much to say that you guys didn't say. It's really cool for the university. All I'll finish with is Liam and AZ, you guys are up next. But moving on to the Big East schedule, which is going to be a bulk of this episode. I'll read through this really fast where the games are and who we're playing when. I'm probably going to mix something up because I'm reading 20 games in a row, but let's just get into it. December 16th, Butler and Hartford. December 21st, DePaul on the road. December 31st, Xavier on the road. Uh, January 4th, Marquette and Stores. Providence is on January 7th. That's on the road. DePaul is on the 10th. That is in Hartford. We have the 13th, Seton Hall. That's on the road. 17th, Georgetown on the road. The 24th is Villanova, and that is in Hartford. And then to close out January, actually, I lied. There's one more in January. Second to last in January is Providence, and that's in Stores, and then at Creighton on the last day of January. We'll kind of cut this in half because it'd be a lot to talk about the 20 games. So, of those games in late December and January as a whole, which one are you most looking forward to? And what do you think is going to be the toughest stretch among those, 11 games?
After the preseason schedule, which is obviously a pretty tough gauntlet, the Big East schedule, at least for the first half of it, kind of weakens up a little bit. You see DePaul twice, you see Butler, you see Hall in there. It's slightly, you know, like I mentioned, it's easier, but I would rather have the easier games early on in the season. That way you can kind of build up that momentum. I would hate to play Marquette and Creighton and all the tougher teams much earlier on and have to, come back from these, potential losses. I enjoy being able to get these kind of games out of the way, especially, first home game, first road game. It's gonna be a good way to kind of get the guys going. Like I mentioned, after this tough preseason schedule, you need to get these wins for the group, and I think this is a good beginning to the schedule.
I would agree with that. Obviously, there's a couple games. If you know this conference by now, you know which ones we're talking about. We'll get to those in a little bit. But I do think that closing out January with Providence and Creighton is probably I it's hard with this conference to say the hardest stretch because this conference is very top heavy, where the top four, maybe five teams are very good, and then the bottom six or five teams are not very good. So they definitely spaced it out well for this January stretch. But I think that Providence and then Creighton at Creighton, where as we all know we suck, um, is going to be a little tough to finish out the month. But obviously Providence, our rival, in no means do I like them, but I think that they're going to be the sleeper in the Big East this year because obviously last year, if you remember our recap video, we basically counted them out from day one, which ended up being right because of all the Bryce Hopkins drama and the team just simply not being good enough. But I think getting Corey Floyd and Osman Arunze back is pretty big for them, and obviously they cut ties with all the guys that didn't necessarily want to be there. And Kim English is a good coach, so I think that they're going to be the sleeper, but I think that 2 game stretch of Providence at home, and as we all know, they always give us a tough win at home, at least for some of the game, and then just on to Creighton, you know.
Yeah, I'm looking if you had to pick a tough stretch, and I feel like it's not even an argument to say that the first half of this Big East schedule is way easier than the second half for the Huskies this year. But I'm looking at that New Year's Eve game at Xavier. That's always a tough place for us to play, even though they're going to look way different this year with Richard Pitino, no longer Sean Miller. But I still expect a tough fight. Cintas is always a really tough environment for the Huskies. Then after that, you have a few days off, but you're playing Marquette at home. That one is a gamble. I mean, you should win that game, but Marquette is pretty good. They're going to be in the tournament. They've been in the tournament the past 4 or 5 years. And then you have to go to Providence, which is another road environment with one of your rivals. So if I had to pick a tough stretch, I'd say that. But it's really crazy to me how, like, the difference is with these two halves of the schedule. Because mentioned that Creighton game at the end of that 11 game stretch. That's technically the 11th game, which is in the second half. That's like the back nine, if you will. You have Creighton twice in your last 10, St. John's twice, Marquette on the road. You have to go to Villanova, which isn't going to be easy. I feel like this team could, in the first 10, they could easily be like 8-2. We're all excited. Maybe they just went, I don't know, 9-2 in non-conference, 8-2 at Big East to start. You're 17-4, you're cruising. And then you hit a rough patch in February because you have all these tough teams. Obviously, maybe they could do a lot better or worse than that. But I just feel like this team is going to be battle tested in February, but that's the time you want them to. I'd rather play St. John's twice in February than play them in December and January and then play Butler twice in February. It doesn't prepare you for anything. But again, Butler could be solid, but they're probably not going to be because they haven't been in the past few years. But yeah, overall, I just feel like you just need to get some of the easier games out of the way first, but you don't want all of them in the beginning.
It is a very good thing as well. I mean, you have these tough stretches. You go away to St. John's at MSG, which is basically our home court. Then you're away at Butler, but then you're home, home, away, home, home, away. You're spending the majority of February in a very comfortable home-like environment. Kind of exactly when you need it. These home games, I mean, you got home at St. John's. The both these St. John's games, I'm sure we'll get into in a minute, but. I mean, having that one be at MSG and then coming back and then in Hartford at stores, it's a great way to end the season. I think it's another great way, like I mentioned, to build momentum. You get these early season wins out of the way, and then you kind of get into the bulk of the schedule, the harder part of the schedule. You got to play St. John's twice in like 2 weeks. It's just a good thing that all of the games surrounding this are at home. You can kind of keep that momentum going, because you know how hard it is to beat the Huskies at home.
Yeah, and speaking of beating the Huskies at home, 4 of the last 6 games on this schedule are home games, but do the math the other way. What does that make? 6 of the first 14 are road games. So you're gonna really be tested, I feel like, on the road early on. You play 5 of your first 8 on the road, and that's half your road games in this conference. So last year I feel like we had more struggles on the road than at home. We lost some tough, close road games. So hopefully that's not the case, but I just know that People's Bank Arena in Hartford is going to be rocking on that Wednesday night against St. John's in late February. What are your guys' thoughts on that? I know we shared them before we started recording, but for the league to put their two best teams, most likely going to be their two best teams, on a Wednesday night in late February is it's absurd to me.
I mean, what are you doing, Val? Like, I mean, Connor just said it perfectly. I don't understand how a top two game in this season for this conference is not on a Saturday night. I don't understand. I really don't understand it. And funny enough, the second best game is the game at MSG. Maybe that'll be the first. I don't know. But I just don't know how you screw that up that bad. And at the same time, why would you put them so close together? They're less than 3 weeks apart. Maybe do one at the beginning and one at the end, but like very beginning and very end. I mean, why are we playing the same team 3 weeks later? Like, I don't. It's just I think it was a huge fumble in terms of viewership for sure. And I might just be a little mad because I probably won't be able to go to it now. But it's just I think that putting that game on a Wednesday, it's not just a killer for the fans, but it's also a killer for the network. Because I promise you that if people saw UConn versus St. John's on a Saturday night, they're more inclined to watch it on a Saturday night than Wednesday. And that's just the truth.
And what I don't get is you're playing Seton Hall at home 3 days later on Saturday night. It just doesn't make any sense to me how they could not work out four teams to kind of switch a schedule so that your two premier teams in the conference are playing on a Saturday night towards the end of the season. I mean, you don't know the implications this game could have. I mean, these two teams could be locked up, tied at the top of the conference, and you're playing this kind of big game on a Wednesday night. It doesn't really make much sense. It would make more sense if it was earlier in the season in like December. It's just the fact that it's at the end of February. March is right around the corner. These two teams could be deadlocked at the top of the conference, looking to get that first seed in the Big East tournament, and you're playing them on a Wednesday night. It just doesn't make it in Hartford. I just wait like it would be perfect if this game was a Saturday night in stores. This is a perfect situation and setup for a Saturday night in stores, and they went over 2.
Yeah, and to add on to that, you mentioned Seton Hall. We play them. We also played DePaul on a weekend at home in Georgetown too. So clearly, this could have been done somewhere on the schedule, but it doesn't. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter because there's not going to be an empty seat in People's Bank Arena for that game. But there could be people that want to go, like Andrew. You mentioned you want to go. It probably can't happen if it's a Wednesday night and not on a weekend. So definitely they dropped the ball there. But I mean, we're really nitpicking because we have over almost 2 months, under 2 months now, but almost a full 2 months until the season starts. But I'm going to put you guys on the spot right here. I'm sure you both have the schedule in front of you, and if you don't, you can easily access it. There's 20 games there. What's UConn's record, and what are their losses?
That is definitely getting put on the spot. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, take your time, because I don't want you to just throw out random, like, well, they lose to DePaul or something, because you're not prepared.
I think hmm, I definitely have a couple of losses in my mind. I feel like for the second straight year in a row, we lose at Villanova. I think that program is on its way back up from the depths of hell that Kyle Neptune took it to. Um, I think they're kind of on their way back up, especially because they now have a Caden Lewis. That's a huge, huge ad. And then I think just based on logistics, like I hate to say it, but I think we split with St. John's. I don't really necessarily know which one, but I think we split with them. And then I always do a sleeper in terms of this. I think Creighton at Creighton is probably just can pencil that in as a loss. And then I don't know, like 15-5, maybe I would guess is our record. A lot, there's going to be weird losses. Oh yeah, losing at Seton Hall. That's the other one. Seton Hall lost. Bookmark it right now. But I think somewhere 15-5 or 14-6, one of those two would be my expectation. Anything of like 17-3, 16-4, I'd be thrilled.
I think I'm just very high on this team. I think it has some good veteran leadership, and you're bringing in some good transfers. You have some good freshmen. I think this is a Dan Harley built team. I mean, last year I think was kind of just a little bit off. I don't think that last year's team had the talent to compete like the previous 2 years. And we still, made a very good run. We pulled national champions Florida. I mean, as far as they could go. I just like this team this year. I think this team is built to win. I think that this team could, at its floor, win 15 games. I think that this team I think my prediction is they're going to win 17 games. So I think you're going to lose one to St. John's. I think you're going to lose to Creighton away, and then that last one could come anywhere. But I mean, you're not losing at the Garden to St. We could lose at home. I think we lose at home to St. John's. I think we lose to Creighton on the road, and then I mean, I don't even know where the other loss will come, but I mean, I don't think we're going to win 18 games. So I'm gonna say that we're going to win 17 games. We could come back to this in 6 months, and I look like a crazy homer, but I just really like this team. I really think that we built this team to kind of mimic the style of our two national championship teams with the big guards, the skilled vets. I think that we just have a very good season coming up here.
Yeah, Matt, I don't think you're a homer because I'm looking even at the games that I'm going to predict that we might lose. I could easily think how we could win that game, but I feel like I'm going to stay similar to Andrew. I'm thinking 15-5. I feel like we split with St. John's, we split with Creighton, split with Nova, split with Marquette 'cause they're a tough team to sweep. And then I'm looking at those first handful of road games. I feel like we could easily start really hot, and I think they will start really hot with that schedule. I don't think they're winning all five of those road games to Paul, Xavier, Providence, Seton Hall, Georgetown. You're bound to slip up once, and it would be not a good loss. It'd be a terrible loss, most likely. But it's just, I feel like Big East, it's tough. Those happen. Those happen to all. I mean, like you mentioned, Andrew, the Seton Hall game. I'm not going to predict we lose to Seton Hall, but that's probably the game that we'd lose in there because we could bring Castle, we could bring Hawkins, Sanogo back, and we could have them run their cheerleaders, and we'd still find a way to lose that game. But yeah, I say 15-5 is a solid spot, and that gets you at least top two in the conference, if not number one. I don't think we're going to see a dominant team this year like St. John's last year and us the year prior. I don't think we're going to see like a 19-1 or 18-2. If we do, I feel like it'd be this team over St. John's because we have some guys that have played together before, like Solo Ball, Caravan, Reed. We brought back a solid core. St. John's has all those transfers again. They brought back Edgefor, but besides that, they have a whole new starting lineup and top reserves off the bench. So it's going to be a bit of a struggle for them potentially out of the gate. So I'd say yeah, 15-5 is my prediction.
I mean, I kind of want to go more into depth about our guards a little bit. I think we're going to do that at a later episode, but I do believe that, we do have the guard depth. You bring in Silas DeMary and Malachi Smith, plus you still keep Solo and you bring in Braylon Mullins as a elite freshman. They're making him sound, I don't know, like to me, it's just hard to fathom this not working out like last year where it was Mahaney, Ball, and Diarra, and you don't know who was going to guard who. Like, I just think that this year's team is so much more talented. I think I'm getting ahead of myself here, but I'm just very optimistic.
Yeah, I feel like this team, we'll talk about, as you mentioned, we'll talk about the guards at a later date. We'll do a whole positional breakdown in all separate episodes of the show. But yeah, I feel like even the guys you're bringing in, they've played well at high levels, and it's really going to be exciting to see. Any last thoughts on this whole Big East schedule and the gauntlet that it is as a whole? If not, we'll go into this last little segment here, some 2026 recruiting updates, because that's really sneaking up on us faster than you think. Huskies had a big visit over the weekend. Cole Clower, who's a 6'8" guard from IMG Academy. He, I haven't seen too much from him because I'm not the biggest recruiting guy in the world. I don't sit there watching tape. I see stars, I see numbers, number third, top 30. That piques my interest. But for what I've seen, the minimal stuff I've seen, he seems pretty solid. And also, he canceled his Kentucky visit after coming to Stores. So maybe that's a good sign. It's not the ultimate sign because he also, in addition to canceling that Kentucky visit, moved up his Alabama visit. So maybe he just doesn't like Kentucky anymore. But anytime you have a recruit on campus and the first thing they do is cancel another visit, that's usually a pretty solid sign, especially with Dan Hurley.
I also think it's good that he canceled that visit, but I also think it's good that we're kind of jumping on this early as opposed to waiting because obviously we have other people that we're looking to get. The big one, obviously, Abdu Traore, who just visited Providence, but he won't make a decision for a little bit, I don't think. But I've seen some clips of this kid, and he looks fantastic. He look like he's literally a 6'8" guard. He plays a little bit like a combination of Steph Castle and Tyrese Martin in a way where they're not afraid to shoot the basketball, but he's also not afraid to take it to the rack, show people that he's bigger and stronger than them. So I like the kid's game. Obviously, he's not going to make a decision very soon, but I can definitely see him fitting in with the way that Dan Hurley runs his team. Which honestly, I can't say for a lot of recruits. Like I've seen a good amount of recruits where I think, obviously, my opinion is not the one that really matters here. But I like there's certain names out there. I'm not going to start dropping names of guys because I'm not like that. But there's certain names that I see them having UConn in their top five. I'm like, no, no, thank. I don't think they fit in with us, but I think this kid definitely fits in the system.
Yeah, Abdu, I mean, a homegrown kid. It would be a great story if he were to come to UConn. Um, I mean, it would be it's been such a thing for the past however long. It would be hard to imagine him going anywhere else. I mean, if you have one of the best programs right here wanting you to stay, home and lead this team to a championship, I think that is an opportunity that you definitely have to have. I mean, like we've been saying, and we don't make these decisions, but I mean, if it were him, it would be an easy one for me. But we're also looking at guard Talon Kinney. He's got a bunch of offers here. I don't know how many, maybe six or seven, but he is looking to Hurley's looking to grab him too.
Yeah, back to Torrey for a second. He visited Providence a couple of weekends ago. Now, this past weekend, he was at Arkansas. I don't see him going to Providence. I feel like I could potentially see him going to an Arkansas. I mean, it's John Calipari. I mean, that's the new Kentucky. That's basically Arkansas is Kentucky now with all the money they have and I guess, the way they're viewed in the college basketball world. But I mean, I know you guys talked about it before, but if the viewers didn't see, Providence just lost an elite recruiting battle to Siena College. A four-star recruit is taking his talents to the MAC as opposed to Federal Hill in Providence. I just feel like if you're gonna stay in the Northeast, if you're Torrey, you don't go to Providence. You go to UConn. You go to the hometown, home state school. But it's definitely gonna be a very interesting recruiting process. I feel like we definitely have some sort of leg up being as good of a program as we are, and having him being right in our backyard down in West Haven. It's a bit of a hike from Stores, but Connecticut's Connecticut. I saw that he had Notre Dame, West Haven in some big college basketball events with some of the premier programs in the country. You don't see a random school in Connecticut in those events unless they have the real deal, and I think Torrey is in fact the real deal. All right, any last thoughts on the recruiting? I know there's not too much to go off of, but anything else from you guys? All right, any last thoughts in general here for episode 136?
Think we got a pretty solid schedule here. I'm, super curious to see how this year goes. This year kind of feels like a reset year. We obviously had the two championships last year. You can't win the championship every year, but I feel like, we got a new team here. We kind of got a new identity, and I'm excited to see these new guys come in and kind of take over.
And I just want to say real quick that this year obviously is our fourth season. So we have obviously grown in age and also college basketball knowledge since we've started this show. So stay tuned for our guard, like Matt kind of gave it away. Well, not gave it away, but talked about it before. Stay tuned for positional player previews because those are going to be pretty in depth and not just reading stats off the screen. Like I know I'm going to dive into a little bit of their film from recent years, obviously last year being the most prevalent, but I just want to say stay tuned for those. And then if you like college basketball in general, check out our previews. I believe we got St. John's, Florida, Purdue, and one more that I'm forgetting
Don't blame me for
outright.
forgetting the Duke Blue Devils. I
Oh,
don't like
Duke,
remembering
yeah.
them either.
But we are going to be working on a couple more of those. So just stay tuned for those because we're going to do more than just game recaps and previews this year. Just stay tuned for a bunch of stuff coming your way soon.
Yeah, exactly. Interesting. First of all, how dare you, Matt, spoil our plans for the guard and positional preview? You're kicked off this no. But yeah, we're trying to expand, and I'm sure you guys may have seen that there's other videos on the channel that aren't UConn. I saw a couple of comments that are like, "We don't want this, UConn for life" or something like that. But we feel like we love talking UConn. I mean, I'm not saying, oh, I post a Purdue preview or St. John's preview. I'm a Purdue fan. I'm just a college basketball fan that happens to really support UConn, and we all are. So we're gonna definitely do more of those previews. We're gonna try to do some more content during the season, maybe a separate whole like weekly show or bi-weekly show about college basketball as a whole. So yeah, even if you guys aren't like don't know much about those teams, that's a perfect opportunity because we're not the greatest at previewing those teams, but we have at least the bare bones there. So if you want to learn more about some Huskies opponents, maybe we'll do it that way actually. I'm speaking to you guys like
I
for the
was gonna
future.
say, yeah, like the
Let's
ones you
focus
play.
on doing UConn's big opponents for those previews because I feel like that will kind of generate more interest. So, yeah, we'll do that. So be on the lookout for some shorter videos with maybe just one of the co-hosts or maybe both. I don't know, but previewing UConn's non-conference opponents. We'll focus on that first. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning into this one, and stay tuned for some more of those previews as well as some other How About the Musties content. I know we'll start to be preparing those positional previews, and yeah, should be a lot of fun. The season's right around the corner. Thank you guys for watching.